Okay, so the last bill up is House File 3872, the Supplemental Higher Education Omnibus Bill. Chair Bernardi, would you like to move House File 3872 to be recommended for placement on the General Register?
So moved, Madam Chair.
And I believe you also have an author's amendment to get the bill in the shape that you'd like to present it.
Yes, Madam Chair. This, the 8 amendment changes how we do it has some technical language for the Office of Higher Education, as well as changing some of the funding amounts, because this program for the 2-year free college and technical college is going to be stood up in 2024, and the money needs to be changed around a little bit, and more money is going to go to the student support services at the University of Minnesota, as well as the operation and maintenance at Minnesota State universities and colleges. And then those are the areas in which we are making that correction, so our bill is in the shape that we need it in. And then there's also fostering independence higher education grants that needed some technical tweaks as well.
All right, well, then thank you for that explanation, Chair Bernardi. I'll get you to also move the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move the A8 amendment.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions? Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Chair Bernardi. I'm just trying to understand one thing. The free 2-year college tuition change that you're doing, you're paying for OHE to set it up, but we're not actually administrating or providing any support to any students until much later. Can you just explain the reason why we're doing that, so I understand?
Very good question, Representative O'Neill. The Office of Higher Education is not able to get the program started any earlier. We need to get the program started as soon as we can, and that's the first they are able to get it started, because they have to do some legwork and groundwork for the first year of the program to get it initiated the next year. So that was at their request.
Madam Chair.
Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just briefly, so I see you have $975,000 left on the bottom line. How many new FTEs do we need to stand up this program?
Chair Bernardi.
I do not have that number with me today.
Mr. Savory or Mr. Savory? Welcome to the committee, Mr. Savory. Can you please introduce yourself and proceed?
Certainly, Madam Chair. For the tape, Ken Savory, House Fiscal Staff. The most recent fiscal note had 1.5 FTEs in FY23, but because the appropriation will be reduced from the original non-projected down to the $975,000, that number may be different. So I would defer to the Office of Higher Ed to have any additional information if the FTE number will be different now that the appropriation has changed.
Ms. Oliver, can you explain more?
Madam Chair and committee members, my name is Nikki Oliver. I'm the Director of Grants and Government Relations for the Minnesota Office of Higher Education. So in the first year to set up, it obviously will take a lot more time to get a program off the ground. So there's more staff time in that first year. I believe it's 1 FTE total ongoing after that. And most of the funding that is requested for admin is actually IT funding. And then the other portion is the FTE income, the work that it takes for communication of a large financial aid program such as this.
Thank you. Representative O'Neill.
Thank you. That makes a lot more sense. 1 FTE or $975,000 for 1 FTE would be a bit hefty. But if we have to stand up an entire IT system to go with it, that's, as we talked about earlier, Representative Nash brought that up, that's cumbersome. It might cost more than that. And then the last thing I would say is it looks like what you're doing is you're taking the savings from that and then equally splitting it essentially. There's a little a slight variation to the two big systems, so the Mid-State system and the University of Minnesota system. And it looks like to me we're just putting it on O&M. Is that accurate?
Chair Bernardi.
Madam Chair, thank you, and thank you, Representative O'Neill, for that question. We are, the University of Minnesota asked for a Promise Grant scholarship and support services as well, and so they've asked to have that money put into support services for the students. And then I also want to mention that we have $2.5 million for the University of Minnesota to do the electrical fleet sustainability project.
Representative O'Neill.
Thank you. I forgot about the electric cars. So, okay. Electric cars, great. All right, thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chair Bernardi, there's 1.5 million in 2023 for the transfer into the Green Training Program account in the Special Revenue Fund. I don't sit on your committee. Could you tell me what that program is and what its purpose is?
Chair Bernardi.
Yes, Madam.
What that money will be used for?
Yes, Madam Chair and Representative Scott. I have let's see, I'm just getting the information here about that. But one of the things is, what it does is it works with the University of Minnesota as well as the workers there. And it focuses on solutions that will lower costs, lower emission, and create cleaner, healthier campuses. Things from organic waste to changing the lead lights, different things that workers can do to help with the sustainability. So it's a collaborative project, and I had a bunch of lists of those, and I'm trying to find that here, but that gives you the overall look at that program.
Representative Scott.
Madam Chair and Representative Bernardi, does the U want this? Are they in favor of this?
Chair Bernardi.
The workers at the university, yes, are in favor of this. The University of Minnesota has not asked for this and is not as supportive of it.
Representative Scott.
Madam Chair, I'm hearing from the lead on the higher ed committee that that is not the case, that the U doesn't want this. So I don't know if you want to ask Representative O'Neill or not, but it's interesting.
Madam Chair,
Chair Bernardi.
I just wanted to be clear that I said that the workers at the University of Minnesota wanted it, but the University of Minnesota administration did not ask for it.
Okay. Okay. Seeing no further questions, the A8 amendment is before us. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. No. The motion prevails. So House File 3872, as amended, is before us. Chair Bernardi, would you like to continue with your presentation of your bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Today, I'm honored to share with you House File 3872, which will serve as our House Higher Education supplemental budget. All Minnesota families and students deserve the opportunity to access a world-class education no matter where they live or what they look like. That is why our higher education bill is investing more than $100 million to increase equity, affordability, sustainability, and student well-being and safety in our post-secondary system. We have heard from students, parents, administrators, and faculty this year, and I'd like to share some of the highlights of this bill. It focuses on affordability, equity, sustainability, as well as student well-being and safety, as I mentioned earlier. Starting with affordability, the 2-year free college proposal in this bill will put the promise of higher education and the entry point to the middle class within reach for every single child in a low-income family in Minnesota. 2-year free college, including our technical colleges, will reframe how working families think about the opportunity presented by higher education, making it achievable for more than 17,000 students in Minnesota. And this bill goes even further to lower the cost of higher education by making new investments into the state grant program that will further lower the cost of college for more than 65,000 students in Minnesota. Finally, the bill also increases support for student parents, students studying social work, education, and addiction medicine. To increase equity, this bill increases our 2021 investments that will support teachers of color, getting more teachers of color and Indigenous teachers into the classroom, underrepresented student teachers, and students who are also parents trying to finish degrees. The bill also makes historic changes for students seeking access to higher education with intellectual disabilities. The inclusive higher education grants in the bill will open doors on college campuses to thousands of underserved students with intellectual disabilities. The bill also increases investments that support Native American students receiving the Minnesota Indian Scholarship and increases funding for Minnesota tribal colleges. This bill makes significant investments in reducing higher education's climate impact by funding sustainability improvements at the University of Minnesota. It also funds higher education research and groundbreaking natural resource technologies at the Natural Resource Research Institute at the University of Minnesota in northern Minnesota, and facilitates the creation of a 50-year clean water plan. Regarding student well-being and safety, this bill also ensures our Minnesota college students are learning in a safe and secure environment by funding the U of M's campus safety and security request to create safer spaces on campus through technology enhancement, lights, doors, and student safety online apps. The bill also funds Minnesota State's request to increase mental health and student basic needs support to help provide students with services that need to be healthy and productive on campus. Our education budget is student-centered with lots of provisions that will provide critical support to our students now while delivering a brighter, equitable, and prosperous future for Minnesotans who as we emerge from this pandemic. With that, Madam Chair and members, I stand for questions.
So there's no other amendments that were pre-filed to Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chair Bernardi, I just have one quick question and then I have a comment. So when we were looking at the tribal colleges doing their O&M, which we've never done historically, unless they're actually part of the Mid-State system, which we, of course, we have one, there was great concern. In fact, OHE pointed it out as well, that there wasn't enacting policy. So we need some policy before we can just do that. And I didn't see that in your amendment. So I'm wondering, have you been working with OHE to develop some policy? Where do we stand with that? It's really important.
Chair Bernardi.
It is my understanding, and I'd like to call on Nathan Hopkins to discuss that provision with the committee.
Mr. Hopkins.
Madam Chair and members, Nathan Hopkins with Nonpartisan House Research. If you look at the first engrossment of the bill on page 2, line 20, this is where the committee's decided to give $3 million to provide to the tribal colleges for their operating expenses. There's no particular guidance on how the language should be spent. It just says that it should be used for the tribal college's general operations and maintenance expenses.
Representative O'Neill.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, so when we had this subject come up in higher ed, OHE did say that there needs to be some parameters and some policy as we discussed. So I was just hoping that maybe that had been worked on. It sounds like it really has not. So if we're going to do that, because here's the thing, the tribal colleges are not only private, but they're also sovereign. It's a very complex issue if we're going to give them O&M. It's different if you're doing a scholarship because we have ways to track that, but there just isn't a tracking of, once we give out this money, there isn't a tracking of it. And so I have a concern if that has not been remedied, it needs to be remedied. I would close with this because I know we're all tired. We were here exceptionally late last night. We're spending $100 million in this fiscal year. We're spending $150 million in the next fiscal year. And my concern is after we've spent all of that money, we are still going to see a tuition increase at both systems. I know that I've had 2 regents reach out to me already. They're already in conversations about not just a raise, tuition increase, but how much the tuition increase will be. I happen to know also at Mid-State, they were very clear with their $60 million ask that $25 million of that is specifically for O&M so that they can do a tuition freeze. We don't come close to that. We're a little bit better with the amendment, but we are not there. So even though we have literally $100 million in this fiscal and $150 million in the next fiscal, we will absolutely see tuition increases on students. So I hope that as this goes through conference committee, that we will laser focus on students and make sure tuition does not go up if we're going to spend that kind of money. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative O'Neill. Representative Garofalo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Two things. One, I would encourage members in the Star Tribune on April 16th, they did an excellent story called Code Red Moment. Fewer people going to college in Minnesota could reshape higher education and workforce. Ryan Faircloth of the Star Tribune did an excellent story on this. I would encourage members to read it. GOP members, I emailed it to staff to share with members to read that, but it talks about the various factors that are playing into the declining enrollment in college in the state of Minnesota and items that people should be aware of. The point that I would focus on is that many families I think a lot of us when we were growing up knew that we wanted to go to college. We were supposed to go to college. The value proposition justified that. And for various reasons now families are taking a look at college and deciding that's not really in their best professional the professional goals. And it's a longer story than what I'm mentioning, but I would really encourage members to read that. My question for Representative Bernardi, Madam Chair and Representative Bernardi, nationwide we've seen that college enrollment now, there's a big difference between the number of males and females that are going to college. Latest data shows that college is now broken down into 60%, new enrollments into college are 60% female, 40% male. There's a big gap. Have we seen that in Minnesota? Second part of the question is, are we doing anything about it?
Chair Bernardi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have not addressed that in our bill. We have worked on equity for students across the state with intellectual abilities, as well as students of color and indigenous students, and that has been the focus on our bill.
Representative Garofalo.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, seeing no further discussion. Chair Bernardi, do you have any closing comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill opens the door for opportunities for Minnesotans throughout the state, men, women, our parents, teachers of color and indigenous teachers who are going to college to become teachers and earn their credentials with student teaching, our Native American students. It is a bill that we are making it more affordable for students to go to college. We do not have a tuition freeze in this bill. We are making two-year college and the technical colleges free for students of lower income families up to $75,000, as well as families, middle-class families up to $125,000. They will see half, at that point, they will see half of their college paid, their two-year college paid for. So this helps throughout Minnesota and helps our economy to get more people with the credentials for what our workforce needs and the business needs. And so this will help with, other states have found that this helps with the declining enrollment and helps get students in school and get them into our workforce and economy with higher credentials and making Minnesota more prosperous and families more prosperous. Thank you for your support, and of course, I urge a yes vote on this bill. Thank you very much.
All right, Chair Bernardi, I really want to thank you for your committee work to expand access to a quality higher education. Having, first 2 years of college tuition free is a great option and a great way to lead to give, individuals a quality education. And so, Chair Bernardi, I would like to renew your motion that House File 3872 as amended be recommended for placement on the general register and that nonpartisan staff be directed to make any technical corrections and amend the title. Ms. Anna, could you please take the roll?
Chair Moran.
Aye.
Moran, aye. Vice Chair Olson.
Aye.
Olson, aye. Representative Garofalo.
Garofalo, no.
Garofalo, no. Representative Albright.
No.
Albright, no. Representative Becker-Finn.
Aye.
Becker-Finn, aye. Representative Bernardi.
Aye.
Bernardi, aye. Representative Eklund.
Aye.
Eklund, aye. Representative Hansen.
Aye.
Hansen, aye. Representative Hassan.
Aye.
Hassan, aye. Representative Hertas. Representative Hornstein.
Hornstein, aye.
Hornstein, aye. Representative Johnson.
Johnson, no.
Johnson, no. Representative Grisha.
Creasia, no.
Creasia, no. Representative Liebling?
Liebling, aye.
Liebling, aye. Representative Lilly, excused. Representative Mariani? Okay, Representative Markwart?
Aye.
Markwart, aye. Representative Miller, excused. Representative Nash?
Nash, no.
Nash, no. Representative Nelson?
Nelson, I.
Nelson, aye. Representative Noor?
Noor, aye.
Noor, aye. Representative O'Neill?
O'Neill, no.
O'Neill, no. Representative Pulowski?
Pulowski, aye.
Pulowski, aye. Representative Petersburg?
No.
Petersburg, no. Representative Pinto?
Aye.
Pinto, aye. Representative Schumacher?
Schumacher, no.
Schumacher, no. Representative Schultz?
Aye.
Schultz, aye. Representative Scott?
No.
Scott, no. Representative Sundin?
Sundin, aye.
Sundin, aye. Okay. Representative Hertas? And Representative Mariani?
Mariani, aye.
Mariani, aye. Madam Chair, that is 17 ayes and 9 nays.
There being 17 ayes and 9 nays, the motion prevails. House File 3872, as amended, is recommended for placement on the general register, and nonpartisan staff are directed to make any technical corrections and amend the title. Thank you so much for your work, Chair Bernardi.
Thank you, Madam Chair.